for watching. Last week in the news, a story broke about people competing in sports. I don't know which state it is, maybe one of the Dakotas, it's really irrelevant, but transgender people who are competing, more specifically transgendered women, which I believe means biologically male but transgender women, okay? Women who are biologically men, competing in sports with women who are biologically women and beating the women. So they're trying to file a lawsuit, or they're going to file a lawsuit, or they have filed a lawsuit to prevent transgendered women from competing in sports with other women who are biologically women. And then over the weekend, I was reviewing one of my earlier recordings because I was going to upload it to make it available for you to view. And I had said in that video that I wanted to discuss the issue of transgenderism with you at a later date. And I figured, being that it's in the news and that it is now a later date, before it never happens, I figured I would sit down and talk to you about it tonight. I don't have the passion to discuss it like I do some other issues. It's not something that I have ever really felt strongly about, but maybe it's something that's important to you and you'd like to know what I think about it. I do have some thoughts on the matter, much like everything. You know, I have opinions. I don't necessarily know a lot about certain things, but I do have opinions on everything. And so, let me give you my opinion on it. My opinion is that I really don't have much of an opinion. It's just not something that I really feel strongly about. Never really have. If I really want to try to analyze my thought processes on it, I'll just say that I've never really understood it. I never have, and I suppose I never will. But I don't think it's important that I understand so much as I tolerate, in the very least, and actually be accepting. And I'd rather be accepting. I had a friend, long time ago, many years ago. This goes back to when I was, in my early 20s. And, this was before being transgendered is as well defined as it is today. Back then, he was just nothing more than a drag queen. And I really felt like I was around a woman. I really did. But he thought I was a hoot, and I thought he was a blast, and we had fun, And I don't know whatever came of him. I fear that he's no longer with us because he was dealing with a lot, okay? People that lead that lifestyle, he would do drag shows and that sort of thing, and I would go out and support him and I'd watch him. But he was living life as a woman, he wasn't just doing shows. This was a lifestyle for him, and maybe within the last 10 years, I met a woman who had fallen for a transgendered man, a man who's biologically a woman, and she just really grew to love the guy, and he was like let me just call my drag queen friend, Amy. I call her Amy. Like Amy, this person was trying to transition. Really, on hormones and everything. And that's fine, I really feel everybody has a right to lead whatever life makes them happy. We all only have one life to live. We got to live it for ourselves. We got to try to live it in a way where we don't encroach on other people's, pursuit of happiness. But at the same time, we have to put ourselves first. And I don't know how long ago it happened, but and I think I've talked about this before. Once upon a time, it was just LGB, and then it became LGBT, and now it's LGBTQ. But the T obviously is for transgender people. And I always thought that, gender identity and asexual orientation are not really the same thing, because people who are transgendered aren't necessarily gay, But I actually have to think this through, and I'm going to do it out loud to see if I can even understand it. All right, so a man who wants to become a woman isn't necessarily interested in men sexually, which I guess if he becomes a transgendered woman, he would be a lesbian, right? And then a transgendered man who is biologically a woman, who, as biologically as a woman, has an attraction towards men, I suppose, once he becomes a transgendered, once she becomes a transgendered man, then she'd be gay. I don't know enough about the lives of transgendered people to see how this all works, but it's very confusing for those of us who are not. But I go back to what I said, we just gotta, love one another, accept one another, and just leave it at that and not try to overthink it. We're never gonna understand, but I dealt with, I haven't really dealt with the transgender issue. I'm not transgender. I've dealt with the gay issue, and I've had to try to explain it to people and tell people, look, when I've had conversations with heterosexual people, I said, look, you don't choose to be straight, it's what you are. And it's always been the majority and the mainstream and accepted, and it's something you never really had to think about. But gay people, their DNA says that they're going to have same-sex attraction, and that's what they are, and they can't be rewired any other way. And they wake up every day having this same-sex drive, but yet they're in the minority, and they have society telling them they're wrong for thinking, or for feeling and thinking the way they do. So that's very difficult for gay people, and gay people have had to overcome that homophobia and try to accept themselves as they are. And a lot of people have become supportive of them, and now we're also trying to get people to be supportive of transgender people and putting them under the LGBT umbrella. But, it's not quite the same for the reason I said earlier. It really doesn't have anything to do with sexual drives. And also, transgendered people, they're not really, they want to accept what they, in their mind, believe they are, but they don't want to accept what they biologically are, what they were born to be. They're rejecting that. And that's quite different than who gay people are. Gay people are trying to accept the fact that they have a same-sex interest. They're not trying to reject that and conform to what society has. Having some difficulty explaining all this, but all I know is that people that are transgendered who are actually, I guess it's what's called transsexual, those who are actually trying to transition and they're on hormone therapy and they ultimately maybe have surgeries, they're actually changing their body to match what's in their mind. And it just seems so drastic to me, really hard to fathom. But we have to support these people, but it's also become a political issue, and there are certain things that I don't agree with. Again, people have a right to pursue happiness, but they shouldn't allow what they want to interfere in other people's lives. And sometimes I feel like certain steps are being taken to interfere with other people's lives. For example, this lawsuit, these women who are biologically women, who want to be women and believe they are women, are being beaten in competitive sports, and that really hurts. These women are very competitive and they want to win, and I'm sure it kills them to think that they might have won if not for the fact that they were competing with somebody that was biologically male. Okay? So I think the fix there is to allow these transgendered women to continue competing, provided that they take hormones so that they're more biologically women, and that will kind of level the playing field, right? And so that's what I'm always trying to do. I'm always trying to meet people that I disagree with halfway, and I wish everybody would do that, because I think people can be accommodated. For example, I was very much opposed and came out publicly on social media against President Trump's threat to ban transgender people serving in the military. I don't think that's right. I think if they can pass all the requirements, just like anybody else, they should be allowed to serve. Now, maybe the military shouldn't pay for their what's called the sexual reassignment surgery. I don't even know what it's called these days. All these terms go through transition as well, and they're given different names. But I think that maybe we can't have transgender people obligating the government to pay for their surgery. Maybe that's something that needs to be on their own dime. But as long as they can still serve, they probably won't be able to. But if they can, leave them alone. Actually, the president has threatened it a couple of times already, and I don't think anything's happened. And so I'm kind of relieved about that. I'm not in favor of scaling back anybody's rights, whatever they are. But I do have a problem with transgender people. There was a big deal about transgender people using restrooms. What is the big deal? Okay, so let's say, for example, a transgender woman, again, biologically male, wants to go into the ladies' room. Okay, she's out in public, dressed as a woman. Are you really going to make her go home to use the toilet, or humiliate her and make her go into the men's room? It's not right. Let her use the ladies' room. There's stalls in there. What is she going to see? There's this argument, it could be somebody just abusing the law, and it could be a man who, is only dressing up as a woman so he can be a little peeping Tom in the ladies' room. They're all stalls. I don't know what they're going to see, so there's nothing to worry about. Now, I draw the line in locker rooms, because you can't have a man who's dressed as a woman and identifying as transgender just for the express purpose of going into the ladies' room and checking out women undressing and being completely nude, because that's the nature of locker rooms. So I don't believe that right should be extended to the locker room. Again, I'm sure there's some accommodation that can be made, and that's all I'm saying. Try to meet people halfway. I know some people, you give them an inch, they want a foot, and you got to push back on that sort of thing. But people's feelings need to be taken into consideration. So I think I covered everything I wanted to say. If I didn't, certainly just go ahead and ask me any questions so I can, be more specific. But anyway, I appreciate you watching. listening and hopefully agreeing with me. And if you don't agree with me, it's because you just haven't listened to me long enough. So just keep on watching, and I appreciate your time. You have a good night.
No one argues hermaphrodites were born that way, but we never hear about them, do we? Yet they survive. Now we are succeeding in accepting transgenderism, but that's not enough. Consider agender people. I get people feeling that they are the gender they are not biologically, but now I have to get people who refuse to even identify with either and expects us to refer to them as they and them. They can lie to the world all they want, but will face the truth when their pants come off.